What's up, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of the 20-something series. Today we're going to be talking with Liz, and we're going to be talking about the topic of depression, which I think is a very common thing, but very unique as well, in particular for people who go through it themselves. And it varies based off person to person, and there's different kinds. But this episode is just specifically two people talking about their experiences on the topic. Me and her talk about if we feel like we've ever gone through it ourselves, what we feel like that depression looks like in our own way. We also talk about what we think it looks like in the lives of the people that we know. I do want to say a little disclaimer before we start the episode. I do want to be a little emotionally sensitive to people who are maybe watching this. If you are an individual who gets triggered by content of this subject matter, I just would recommend you not watch this episode. In particular, it wasn't the intent of the episode. The intent was just to talk about a topic that we feel is very common in many people's lives, and especially the lives of people who are in their 20s. But I think it's a good episode, and I can only hope that you think the same. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy the episode. We can just start off with you explaining who you are, your name.
I'm Liz. Just my name.
Yeah, just
Liz, that's all you need to know.
Just first name, that's it.
No, Liz, 22, college student, and like I said earlier, going through that early 20s crisis, still trying to figure it out, get there eventually.
Eventually, hopefully. Yeah. That's the goal. But we'll talk about, we are going to be talking about a heavy topic, depression, which you've experienced.
Yes.
But we can start off basically with just a definition of the word depression, okay? So based off Google, the definition of depression is a condition of general emotional disjunction and withdrawal. Basically means lowness in spirit. Sadness greater and more prolonged than that warranted by any objective reason. That's what Google's definition is. What would you say your own personal definition is of depression based off of your life? Because, it could be something different.
I think it could be like a sort of disconnection from, in the sense of, you start just disconnecting from things that make you feel content, or for me, I know it was when you start losing sight of yourself, or you don't recognize your value anymore. You kind of feel you kind of just start questioning, why am I here? But it becomes a little more than that. It's why am I here? Maybe I don't belong. So when it gets to that, that's what I think. At least for me, it's more concerning.
Okay. Mine is my definition of depression would be it's this sub-layer below all your emotions where you can just lie and exist. In my opinion, when you are depressed and you get angry, that's a good sign, because that means you're feeling some type of emotion. And that you're eventually going to be feeling those emotions that you want to feel, like happiness and all that stuff. But depression is that low bottom.
Gotta hit the low before you can...
That low, yeah. That's where it lies. And for me, I wouldn't say I've experienced depression or I've been depressed. I've had low lows, very low lows. But I've always gotten back up. It never lasted more than a few hours or a day the most, I've always got myself back up emotionally through just talking to myself or talking to someone else, but or something about the new day and the new morning gets me connected and back in a level-headed set.
Yeah, you're able to bounce back.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that I've experienced depression. I do take it seriously, though, and I think people do throw away the word depressed or the word depression like it's nothing.
Yeah.
That's so depressing, or I feel so depressed today. But I feel like there's other words that you can use that better suit what you're feeling, like sad or lonely or disconnected or something like that, because I feel like I take depression seriously, and I know people that go through it and they do struggle with it, and it is a serious, real thing. So I don't know, do you, based off your personal definition, when was the first time you've kind of gone through depression, you would say? Like when you realize, oh, this is something that's like that.
I want to say, you know how you kind of go through maybe middle school, that beginning of high school, and like you start experiencing a lot of things. Like I know most of us would feel discouraged or even like hurt after an episode of bullying or something of that nature. I think I was always, I always kept to myself because I was always like, I never really like anyone getting close to me because it's, you know, deep down I don't want, like I'm very, when it comes to opening up, it's very difficult for me. So I always try to, like, I've always had the same people. So I think after, this is the one thing, sexuality, I do want to touch upon it because when I was going through middle school and high school, I would see like people get bullied for coming out, and I was going through that, like in the closet. So when I hit senior year of high school was when I want to say that I did, you know, encounter depression because, you know, I grew up in a Catholic household. My parents weren't open-minded, or like anytime I heard anything about sexuality or whatever, like it wasn't a very positive thing that I heard about it, or like just what I witnessed, or like the people around me. So I kept it in for a while, and like that's the thing, when you keep something in for a while, it like, you know,
eats you up.
Yeah, and it's like the cup overflows and there's a mess done. So I had to come across it and like, what's that word?
Address it?
Address it, yeah. I had to address it when I went through my first, like, when the first time I liked a girl.
Okay.
A very close friend of mine. Ironically, very religious.
Okay.
So, you know, I had to really, like, that was the whole... When I finally addressed it, well, before addressing it, I let it eat me up. Like, I didn't say anything. I didn't open up. I just kind of was like, you know, I didn't want to come out of my room. I couldn't write anymore. I love writing. I didn't have the passion to write anymore. I didn't really see why I needed to talk to people.
So you started gradually just isolating yourself?
Definitely isolated myself. Didn't talk about it. It's just like, it was like, because I'm the type of person, I don't really like get crushes easily. So for me to like, you know, like someone, and then it's a girl too, it's like my first time. Like in regards to sexuality though, I'm super open-minded. I, you know, was a big ally even before I knew. So I don't know, it just ate me up because it's like I felt like I couldn't talk to anyone. So I isolated myself, and like I didn't want to, for the longest I denied it, you know, didn't want to address it. Like, I don't know, it just was.
How long did that episode last for you though?
It lasted like nearly like a year.
A year?
Yeah, so I mean, that was my first encounter with it. And afterwards, even when I addressed it, I still felt like I felt like I wasn't me anymore, if that makes sense. Like, I felt like there was still a part of me missing even after.
Okay.
Now, my first encounter that left me concerned was first year of college. You know, when you go to college, you feel like you're forced to go into, like, school afterwards. You're forced to figure stuff out quickly.
This new atmosphere.
I went through a lot of schools where I had to, you know, transfer and, like, figure stuff out. And, like, money was always an issue. So I'm trying to work my butt off and, like, go to college and, like... And then it's, like, you know, with our major, it's, like, very...
Which is, like, production.
Yeah, like film. It's, like, it's a very, like... They always, like... They remind you in school, hey, this isn't, like, a 50-50 thing. I mean, is it 100? It's a 50-50 thing. You really have to, like, put yourself out there and do all these things. And, like, people are going to shoot you down and all that. So I was just more concerned with, like, finding a place where I could grow as a filmmaker, as a writer, and, like, just getting to that point. But the problem with me is that I felt like I wasn't going to get to that point because I switched schools so much. And when I stopped writing in high school, I stopped completely, and like I couldn't think anymore. Nothing, it just I was in a mental block basically. It felt like, and for some people, like one of the most important things for me is writing. Like if I can't write, then I feel like I have nothing going on for me, because that's the one thing that I feel like that I'm gifted at, that I can do, and like that I can see myself going somewhere with it. Like when I stopped writing, I felt like it crushed me. Like I couldn't, So, I switched schools. I don't know. You go through people in life. I lost friendships because of the isolation that I put myself in, and like there was just so many things that I felt like my life was going 100 miles per hour, and you're trying to steer and stuff, but it's like you can't.
It's out of control. Yeah, it's out of
control.
It
is. And I eventually crashed. I want to say I crashed was earlier this year. Like I said, like when I defined it, I felt like, I had no value. Like why am I here? Like I've got absolutely nothing going on. And like, I think I do want to talk about this. Like when you start having suicidal thoughts, and I mean, they tell you this, like when you start having suicidal thoughts, that's when it is very concerning. You know what I mean? And for me, like, I knew I was concerned. When you start opening up to the idea of suicide, that's when it's super concerning. And it just freaked me out that I knew I had to, open up about it to really, like, get strength to take that step to doing something about it. So that's, for me, was, like, earlier this year was when I really started talking about it, like.
So you went to your therapist. Did that help to talk about it? Like, was it easy in the beginning?
Well, before therapy, I kind of reached out to people close to me, like, to really get that nudge towards therapy, because, like, I talked to my parents about it. Like, yes, my parents in some aspects are close-minded, but they're open, and, like, when it comes to therapy, they're very open-minded. Like, my own dad struggles with anxiety, and like, my mom was telling me, like, hey, reach out for help if you need it, but that's something you do on your own. Like, even though I knew I had some support from them and, like, close friends and stuff, unless I made that step, I wasn't going to do it. You know what I mean? So it took me, a while to really get the strength to really, like, talk to my doctor about it. Because it's, like, when it comes to depression and, like, you hear and see so many different reactions from the medical field about it, you're kind of worried about what are they gonna do? Like, is this gonna be a good thing for me? Am I gonna have a bad experience? Because bad experience tend to make you, like, close up again.
Right.
So I talked to my doctor about it, and I was super nervous. I was a wreck when it came to talking to my doctor. That's the first time I spoke about it to a medical professional. So she heard me out and stuff, because it's weird, because you don't know that, because nowadays they're doing that too. When you get your physicals, they ask you, like, are you having thoughts of blah 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 blah, of suicide or, like,
or self-harm.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know about anyone. I mean, I want to say that I did do this, and it was like, I wasn't, when they asked me these past couple years, I would say no, just because I was scared of, like, what's gonna happen if I say yes.
Yeah, like if you say yeah, they're gonna put you in some room and
yeah
not let you out.
Yeah, and it's like, and I do believe this, once you say it out loud, it becomes just so much more real. So it does, and it's like, shit, now I have to acknowledge it.
Yeah, now I have to solve the problem.
Yeah, and when I spoke to my doctor about it, it was cool, because she was young, so she was like, I feel more like, not that she's young, but like when they're young and, like, they get it because they went through schooling and all that. So I touched base on what was bothering me at the moment, and that's when she, recommended that I speak to someone, and there was discussion about, like, taking medication. Like, there's different types of medication, like antidepressants. So I had started, well, I was in the works of talking to someone. I also got started on Zoloft, but the low dosage. So it was like an experimental thing to see, like, how it would work for me, and like there, was discussion on how long I would take it and like when I would get off. And with therapy, also like what is it? Cognitive behavior therapy.
Okay, explain that.
Basically, it's like when you work with someone, like you speak to someone and they help you really think a way that's going to help you. Like it's like they help figure out your behavior pattern and how you can turn that behavior pattern. You work with it to make a positive outcome, or like a way that's going to help you basically what you're going through. So, luckily I got like a pretty cool therapist, because a lot of people get bad first experiences, and that's what really like.
I've had a bad, actually, we
that's
can
what
talk
I'm
about
saying.
that.
Yeah.
I've had a really bad experience with therapy, which is probably why I developed this kind of
like a fear, kind of.
Not fear, like just ability to just be my own therapist. Like I've really practiced like in my like emotional intelligence, like learning about that, like learning shit about that, like learning on like where emotions come from and why do I think this way and all that stuff, and so I can like direct my emotions each way and get to like the center part of it. But I remember when I was a kid and I used to have suicidal thoughts as well. I was at this therapist with it was me, my mom, and my brother, and our family was just going through some crazy stuff. My mom was like, all right, that's it, we're going to the therapist. And I remember at one of the sessions, the therapist was like, all right, I want you to write a letter, and I want you to write it throughout the week and come back and I want you to read it. And I remember in my room like writing it and like writing like everything I wanted to say and how I thought of killing myself. And I was in like middle school back then.
Yeah. You're really young, man. It's crazy how it starts really young.
Yeah. I was like super young. But it's crazy because you just think that's the only option. So, I go to the session with the letter, and it was me, my mom, and my brother each reading our letters, and I read mine, and it was a lot. So much that the therapist said that I think we should rewrite it and read it again, a new one next week, because I feel like some of us were just a little too honest.
That
was the response I got. So then that was like, whoa, like...
That's such a terrible thing for someone that's a professional to even see.
I mean, that's
discouraging.
That was what happened. So
yeah.
That's it. I think it's maybe it was a positive, because if that didn't happen, then I wouldn't be able to have this relationship with myself that I've worked towards. But for me, when it comes to depression, my lows go there fast. Like it goes to, I haven't had like a suicidal thought in years. I think maybe 4. But when the last time I did, it was kind of like this thing where it shoots down so far into this dark hole that it's like you don't know where to go or like what, like you don't. There's no other option really. And for me, it was like this. You ever see the movie A Star Is Born? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's like a new movie. Lady Gaga's in it. It's pretty dope. But there's this last scene where he, I forgot. What's his name? The actor. Come on.
Bradley Cooper.
Okay, there we go. Whoa, I'm sorry, Bradley. Yeah, he's
the Bradley.
Yeah, he's the Bradley Cooper. Okay, so his character was had kind of committing suicide, and then he went out into his car to get what he was going to use for it. And there was this part in the movie
Spoiler alert, Calvi.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Spoiler alert. There was this part in the movie where he is in his trunk, lifting the trunk up, and he's looking at what he's gonna use, and there's just this close up of him, and it's like right close up, like, and he's just there and he's paused, and it's there for like a good a while, and he's not saying anything, but he's like filled. I'm like getting emotional. Okay, so and he's like, he's not saying anything, but when I saw it, I knew exactly what he was thinking. Like, exactly what he was thinking. Because he was like, it was like, you're kind of looking for a reason to stay, like a reason that's going to have you stay, and a reason that's going to connect you to be here. And I'm just thinking of all the people that don't find a reason, you know? And like, really think that that's the only option, but it's not, and you're not going to feel bad for a long time, you know. But luckily for me, I remember actually that going through something like that and then finding a reason in my head.
Yeah.
And that's what brought me, and that's what got me to the morning, which made me feel better, and then I got out of it. But for some people, like they see that as the only option, and it could be sexuality for you, it could be some traumatic event that happened that triggers it. But I feel like once you time really helps when it comes to just being able to separate yourself from that event or from that time period where it was really deep and those emotions were strong, that you can actually see the silver lining in things, you know what I mean, and see the positive in things. So that's coming from someone who doesn't experience those thoughts now and can understand what it's like to, you know what I mean?
No, it's wonderful that you're able to have that relationship with yourself. I know I can't have that now. I would love to. It's like, I know one of my big things that was established is like, I'm very hard on myself. Extremely hard on myself. Like, and I think if it was just the medicine alone and I still didn't realize that I was being hard on myself, it would have gone nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, once I realized that I was very hard on myself and that I, you know, like I have a good sense of humor. That's what I like, that I can take things, you know, lightly and like it won't, you know, I like joking around. I you know, but when those jokes towards myself started getting real personal and it's like, whoa, I would never say this about someone, so why am I saying it about myself? That's when I knew that it wasn't like, you know, like this isn't funny anymore. Yeah, like,
yeah,
I don't know, like tagging along to what you said, like a lot of people don't, you know, sometimes it's hard for them to think about things that they could stay. I know for me, I'm like, you know, I'm glad that I was at this point where I could think to myself, no, like, you know, there has to be something I can offer the world. Like, I'm here for a reason. Like, that's what really. But sometimes, like, when it's really, really bad and it's like, no, I got to stay here for my family. And then it just sucks because when it goes darker and darker and darker and deeper, it's like, I don't know, like, it is hard for people to really, like, think, like, during that moment where they're like, I've got nothing to offer. Mm-hmm. Even though, you know, everyone on this earth has something to offer. Everyone. It all comes down to empathy, really. Like, you really gotta, like, everyone's going through shit, and it's like, you know, we gotta just talk to each other sometimes, sit down, because you don't know, like, you know that, how people say, like, you know, smile at someone or ask them how their day's going. You don't know what that person's going through.
Helps, yeah, it helps. But, like, why do you think, where you, since you're kind of going, I feel like your depression was like, it's a long formatted one where it was kind of like
I went through depression for years and now I'm still going through it, but I'm at a place where it's like I said, I made that realization that I'm really hard on myself. I'm working on it. So yeah, like it's like I've been going through it for years now.
What do you do to get out of that? To get out of like the funk. Emotion? Yeah, to get out of the funk.
Like I said, I like keeping busy. If I feel that I'm having like a really bad day, then I try to do things that, you know, still make me feel like good. Like I haven't really been happy in years, so I try to find something that makes me feel as close to that as I can. Okay. Like I try to, you know, go out with some friends, remember, hey, you know, like these people are like your support system, like you can feel good with them, or like I try to sit down and write or like do something just like that really takes my mind off it. Mm-hmm. You gotta distract yourself, you know? I
feel like that's funny you say that because it's kind of like it's similar. The fight to get out of depression is very similar to the fight to get out of a drug addiction, because you have to keep yourself busy.
Yeah.
You got to surround yourself with people who are gonna uplift you. You got to like stay away from negative people that are just gonna put you down, or people that have that energy that's just gonna put you back to that spot.
Stay away from triggers and stuff.
Yeah, stuff like that. So that's funny how the similarities between the things, but both are very big, huge things to deal with. You know, it's a huge part of your life.
And even like, if you don't know what meditation is, and figure out what meditation is, try to find something therapeutic that, you know, you've never tried before. Like, put yourself through like a healthy challenge of finding therapeutic things and like going for them and seeing like, you know, it's hard to get out of bed like when you're going through that, like really, really hard. And sometimes you get out of bed and you're like, you know, like, what the hell should I do? Like, but you know, like, if you find because, and I want to say this, it's okay if you can't get out of bed, because when you're going through stuff like that, it's understandable that you can't do certain things you used to do, or like you just don't have the energy, or like, you know, it's okay. You're allowed to like have lows when you're going through stuff. You're allowed to have lows as much as you're allowed to have highs. Like, and that's what is realistic about it. You have to understand, like, people are gonna be told, oh, you know, like, try to have as less lows as possible, but if you have them, it's completely normal.
Like, be a little gracious to yourself, you know, like,
yeah,
a little bit, day by day, pretty much, which is basically what I say. Also, I think working out, low key, is really good. Just a little tip there if you're wondering. But
no, and like another thing is, I want to say, like, maybe you don't have people around you that like are gonna be like, hey, you it took a lot for you to get out of bed, but you did it, you know, like, awesome, congrats. Like, some people don't have that. So I think definitely, like, self-love, I honestly preach, would, like, best first approach to really help you with that. Like, you know, get to know yourself, fall in love with yourself, and, like, be good to yourself. Because that's what I struggled with, being good to myself. I was very hard on myself. Worst critic, worst enemy ever. Like, when I finally, like, started being nicer to myself, that's when I felt like the funks were less and less, and like all that.
Or even like if you don't have those people around you, I feel like making sure you're surrounding yourself with as much positive. Yeah, like if that means deleting a bunch of people that negative in your social medias and adding a bunch of positive, like a positive accounts, or like people who motivate you or have positive vibes and post positive things, then do that, because at least you're consuming that on a daily basis rather than consuming things that are just gonna not feel you emotionally.
Don't set yourself up for failure, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Self-love, though, guys. Self-love, like, definitely, like, fall in love with yourself first before anything else.
Now, this is an interesting question. Do you think that there are any, in the long run, that there are any positives to dealing with depression? Is there any silver lining?
The tough skin that comes with it. Tough skin, and then even you going through it, you're able to, like, you know, if you meet someone else going through it, you're able to, like, really have that empathy, like, I think. And definitely just, like, you come to realize as you're growing, like, I think you grow so much as a person tremendously, because before I was clinging on to the version of myself that was like, no, you know, like, I didn't always used to feel this sad, or like this and that. But no, that just means I'm growing, and then, you know, I'm reacting to things differently. But at the end of the day, it's all about being open-minded to growing, and like realizing that, like you said, like, deleting all those things that make you, like, that may look like positives, but they're actually bad things. So, like, I've lost friends that didn't understand why I was suddenly not talking to them, or like, you know this, like, I suck at talking to people. Like,
oh my god, you're the worst. I have to literally, like, oh my god, I have to literally, like, send you after 5 texts after the first text, and then you're like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm
here. No, like, I'm terrible. And like, when my depression was really bad, it's like, this chick is gone, like, years later.
What advice would you give to someone who, like, because there's a lot of people that also, they never experience depression, but they have a loved one that does. So, like, what advice would you give to them on how to deal with someone that they love that is going through depression?
Check in on them. Just, you know, hit them up. Hey, you know, how are you? Like, and even if they won't be able to tell you at the moment, I'm not feeling well, blah, blah, blah. Just, like, spend a day with them regularly. Like, just, like, you know, make an effort to talk to them and, like, let them know, hey, you know, like, I'm here, we can chill whenever, like, we can talk, and, like, just that. Remind them that they're in your life and you're in their life. Just, like, definitely, like, be, you know, there for them. And
even listening is big.
Yeah.
Big.
Even listening, or just even, like, distracting them, you know what I mean? Like, hey, let's go out for a movie or stuff. Like, just, like, you don't have to sit there and be their therapist. You can just be their friend, or, like, be, you know, someone that just, like, distracts them. Like, good distraction for them.
Yeah, but on the positive side, I mean, we're in our 20s. Yes. We're young as hell. We have so much life to live, yo. We have so much life to live.
That's another thing I want to say. Okay, this is a thing. We live in a society that puts like a freaking time limit on things. That's another big thing. Fuck that time limit.
Like you need to be graduating, have a house with
You're
a car.
still young. You're only
age.
in your early 30s, early 20s. Sorry,
20s.
I think I think I'm 13 going 30.
Ahead. Yeah, no.
Sorry, no. Yeah, you're still fucking young. Even if you're freaking 50 and like you want to do something like go to school, do it. Like, don't put a time limit on yourself. You know what I mean? Be limitless in that sense. Like, don't ever limit yourself just because of how old you are or whatever.
100%.
You can do whatever at any age, and like you're still growing as a 20-something. Even at 30, people still don't have their shit together. As long as you have a sense of control in your life and you're doing things that make you happy and you're
with
just
purpose and
you're fine. Like, not everyone's gonna have everything 100% figured out.
100%. What to close out, I mean, I feel like we covered a lot here, and I honestly
there's always a lot more, but it's like whatever. Like,
there's one thing that I wanted to do before, like just thinking about this and prepping before we shot this. There's so many different versions of depression, and we're just two different people.
Severities
dealt with it. There's seasonal depression. There's so many different versions. Okay, and you're one person who has a different way of like a different experience. I have my different experience, but there are others out there as well. We're just two people, but I hope that people who are listening can get
and there's even like
something out of it.
There's even people that it just hinders. Like, some people can't work because of like their depression. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's miles, and then there's like the severity, like you said.
Yeah, it impacts your life greatly, especially if your job consists of you needing to be connected to emotions that you're not feeling at the moment. That will affect that greatly, honestly.
And if you feel like you can't talk to your loved ones or anything, like reach out. If there's the first thing you can think of and you're having like bad thoughts or whatever, that definitely, there's so many resources out there that if you feel like it's hard to talk to someone that is like, them.
Yeah.
It's very hard because you feel, I know that they're going to see you in a new light, and that's what makes us nervous about talking to people that are close to us. If you feel like you can't talk to your best friend, your mom, your dad, just reach out to any resource that's, they're given to us everywhere. Like, there's resources everywhere.
Definitely find someone, because you just need to speak it. Like you said before, once you speak it, you realize it's a problem. Then you can realize and like put the work into fixing it. You know what I mean? Because if you don't voice it, it's kind of like this thing that it's just you're not there at the first step of solving it. You know what I mean? But
and even like I said, even if like it's a big accomplishment, I think, like to get out of bed every morning. So if you got out of bed, pat yourself on the back. Like that's a big ass accomplishment. Like, and even I'm proud of you. I don't know you, but I'm proud of you if you're taking little steps to really like get through the day. It's hard, like.
And I'm proud of you for being here and like talking and being so open about it. Like, it's not easy to talk about. Like, it gets to
the point where you can get comfortable talking about it. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you asked me to do this like a year ago, I would have been like, I got an appointment today. Like, no, you know what I mean? No, it gets easier to talk about once you finally address it. Yeah.
The farther away you get from it, the more you can see like the silver lining.
You can step back and really like evaluate and like
So I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, give it a thumbs up, give it a like if you're watching on Facebook, and comment what you think of the episode, or share it with someone you think would enjoy the content as well. Thank you, Liz, for being in it. Your vulnerability is very, very admirable, talking about a topic that I don't feel like gets talked about enough. So thank you very much. Share it if you want to share it, like it if you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel. But if not, I will see you in the next one.